Salías de un templo un día, llorona, cuando al pasar yo te vi. Salías de un templo un día, llorona, cuando al pasar yo te vi. Hermoso y vil llevabas, llorona, que la Virgen te creí. Hey friends, I'm really nervous, so bear with me here, and I'm not sure why I'm this nervous this time, but I think because usually I'm drawing and I can kind of ease into the video and start talking like halfway. But this time I'm, kind of having to uh, go through, like, have all the information in my head, according to me, like organized, or I'm gonna try to go through some of the things for the warrior, or kind of do like a breakdown, because I noticed that sometimes, well, when I post a video regarding the construction, or the process, there's a lot of people that will watch it, maybe not press like, but they're watching. So that tells me they're curious, and it tells me maybe it's somebody that has it on replay. So whoever you are, God bless you. But anyway, just in case there's more people and they're curious, or they're, they kind of, there's something that they'd like to know, like, hey, how'd you do that part, or this, or da 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 da. So anyways, uh, without further ado, let's get started. So the photo me kind of came up on us a little bit, on myself a little bit fast, or at least I felt it that way. And before you knew it, it was already August. And so I was like, okay, what can I do? And it had occurred to me of possibly doing, converting my friend who's a great sport, Haiwan, converting him into a runner. I have the sketch here. Where do I? No, not here. Okay, into a runner with some accents of like Mayan culture, which would have been, I had intended of, having him in his running shorts, having this here, the like belt, loincloth, and then having a headband without the feathers. So it was going to be something, um, you know, kind of simple compared to what he's wearing here. And but here it is. Okay, so that was the original intention, and I sent him a picture that I saw, that I found, which was really cool. But during this time as well, my comadre was going to acquire this costume. She's purchasing this costume for me. It's the Apocalyptic Aztec Warrior, which I made like right after I graduated from Trade Tech. Sorry, it's pretty old now, so it's, getting its wear and tear. I brought this home so I could make a new pair of these. And let me take you back to that picture. That was in, let me see, it would have been 2014 that I made that warrior. Where are you? Okay, here he is. So that was this guy. I made him, I had extra feathers from my graduation project, so let's see, which is what helped me create the headpiece, the arm wrist covers, and then also the calf covers, then the staff, which was meant to be originally like a fake obsidian stone here. It eventually got rooster feathers too. I believe that's what the black ones that you see are rooster feathers. And by the way, the staff that you see now, and then This is before the feathers. It's actually a tiki torch from the 99-cent store. So sometimes, when funds are limited or whatnot, I think that's the mother of creativity. And that's when, we're forced to, kind of take a look at what we have or what our budget is, or it forces you to be creative because perhaps, there aren't fancier resources or whatnot. So let's go back to our Mayan warrior. I'm gonna try to. So Jeanette was or is acquiring that, and she said, "How about we get another photo of that, some photos of that?" And I thought, "Oh, okay." But at the same time, I'm wanting to do the runner, right? Because Juan is in real life, he's a marathon runner, and that's something he's always been an athlete, and he's always run. But within the last like year and a half to 2 years, he really took up his running to another level, took it very seriously, and did 4 marathons last year. So I thought, well, this might be a cool way to, like a nod for his community, his running community, yeah, while at the same time, trying to represent his other community, which is the Guatemalan community. And I myself, my parents are from El Salvador. I'm a daughter of immigrant parents, and so I'm Central American as well. And I'd been asking Jeanette if they ever did photo shoots with Central Americans, or if they had done any. And it looks like I believe Gus is gonna do one with a lady down in San Diego. I want to say the name is Suava Wate. And so those are, you gotta look those up. Those are gonna be stunning. Like she has some really beautiful clothing. So all these things are starting to percolate, right? Like I'm thinking of doing the runner. She mentioned, hey, let's get some photos of the warrior. So we thought, well, let's see if poor Juan, God bless him. Let's see if Juan is down to doing both, and if we could, do like a quick change or do like a wardrobe change in somewhere in the photo shoot, which, we didn't realize that's a lot because I didn't realize he does a 60-mile run on Saturday. So, he was a great sport to come after his long run and still come and model for us. So, but anyways, maybe that's something in the future. But after having done the warrior, this seems really dressed down. So I don't know. We're gonna let this percolate and see what happens. But I'm really glad that the Guatemalan, Central American, and Mayan community got to be represented. I hope even his run, I believe there's some, he has some fellow Guatemalans in his running community. So I hope that they were able to enjoy this or identify it, and so forth. So what won out was the warrior, because when I was trying to explain to Juan, and sometimes I think we artists we do this like we're, la 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 la, like just our ideas are going 100 miles per hour, and we don't realize that people are not in our heads, and so it can get a little fuzzy because I sent him a picture of a warrior, kind of. He's like, sort of not as dressed up as this one, but the inspo picture I had, which was for the runner, he still looked more like of a warrior. So and I was trying to relate to him also, like what Gina and I were trying to do, as far as like let's get you into both, but I didn't have a visual for him. I'm just talking, all these ideas and stuff. And so when I finally asked him, oh, so which one do you want to be, or what do you think, and and so forth. He was like, oh, I thought I was gonna be the warrior, and I was like, oh, okay, he's got good for him. He's got big dreams too. So I'm totally punking him right now, but it went down a little bit like that, and so I realized, okay, you know what? Maybe he's vibing the warrior more, so let's do that, and that's how this guy won over the runner. And now I realize, I mean, I feel like we had some help from the powers that be, I believe, because I realize now, wow, you know what, the warrior is definitely it's a more powerful image, and in this situation, Juan embodies both, because he's a retired Navy senior chief, and and now he also runs and so forth. But I think this is a like it turned out to be like a majestic representation, and which it just kind of fell into that place with a little bit of everybody, with Jean, with Juan, and myself, and it actually it helped me too to kind of step up, and step up to the plate again, which I feel like I kind of hadn't done in a while. And so I thought, and he was very kind, and he's like, oh no, you know what, like whatever's easiest for you. He didn't want to give me too much work or trouble, but I really sensed that I was like, no, I think this is good for me, or that's what I was telling myself in my head. But I do believe it's true that it was a good challenge for me to step up to, and I'll start breaking down what the challenges were here in a second. Sorry, gotta switch. I don't have a cameraman, can't afford one yet. All right, so now that you've heard me babble for 12 minutes, I'm gonna try to get started. But I wanted to kind of give you an idea of just how all that comes about, which is probably not foreign to a lot of creatives, as far as how something concept or something comes to be. But I do like to get inspired by the person, and in a case like this, their ethnicity, just their passions, their goals, their journey, their story, and so forth. And so my friend and I, we go back. It turns out we attended the same elementary school. We didn't know it at the time, and but we actually met in junior high, and we used to walk together to school with a little group of us. So it was like four of us. So a friend of his and a friend of mine, and we were all just kids, and now when we talk, we realize, okay, we realize what things drew us all together. We were kind of all, had similar life stories going on, and but we used to walk to Wilson Junior High in Glendale, and then we all went on to Glendale High School, and we hadn't seen each other since high school. But I believe like the pandemic and other life events have brought a lot of us from our high school, and just our adolescent days kind of brought us all back together a little bit, which has been really nice to see just friends from high school, like to know that you have that support. But before I go down that rabbit hole, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to give you a little backdrop on Juan. But since then, he, like after high school, he joined the Navy, and put in 26 years. And we can pick his brain a little bit more on that later. But I'm gonna start before I just make this into like a 2 hour thing. So for me, the challenge was, I'm gonna start with his headdress. Was that currently, so I had like 5 days or a few days to try to figure out the headdress, and then the loincloth belt, which is, it doesn't have a lot of construction like a lot of my friends would probably say, man, I could do this in my sleep. And it's true, it's not necessarily like a brain surgery construction. But what I was kind of facing is just limitations on time and funds. So I needed to figure out how can I make this, you know, try to represent the Mayan culture with what I have, But again, I believe that that's like the mother of creativity and ingenuity. So the challenge was restructuring the Aztec warrior's headpiece, which what finally had managed to figure out how to stable. It had like straps, and it was good for a good while. And now I had to use that, and I re-gutted this. I took it all apart, and had to recycle the feathers because the feathers can get pricey. So when I bought all these feathers plus another lot of feathers for my graduation project, it was a couple $100s, a few $100s. And so with each strip it can get a little pricey. And currently, as you've all heard, the entertainment industry is on strike, so a lot of us are doing the unemployment shuffle. So there wasn't the funds weren't there to go out all out on a big old Mayan headpiece, like recreate something authentic. It would have taken definitely more hours and days for me, and definitely hundreds of more dollars. So at least to do it the way I would have liked to have done it. So, but what I think what turned out, I was happy with it. Of course, it's a more modest headpiece, but I'm still very grateful. So, okay, so this was on a structure, like on a small structure of buckram from a lady that many of you know. She sells these like hat structures in downtown LA. I hope she's still there. So I got it a while back, and it was kind of in the shape of a mohawk or like a teardrop. So I outlined it, right? So it was hand sewn, and only those big feathers that you see there were glued. So I took that all apart and I regutted it, and I made that's somebody else. I made the headband sized to Juan, and I want to show you if I have it. I need like a third hand. Goodness. Okay, hold on. Is it the fabric that? Oh, okay, I don't have it, but I'll just move over here. So it's made out of the same fabric as the belt. It's like a faux leather. It's a fake leather, and it's about no, maybe more, about 4 inches in height. And it's sized to fit Juan. And what I put on let me grab my little pencil here. This is lined with Guatemalan textile right here, and that you saw an image of it looked like a napkin, which it was, because that's what I could afford. And if many of you know or are familiar, imported Guatemalan textiles can be very expensive. So I learned from my community that a blouse can be like can be like $400. Same thing for the skirt. So an outfit that you sometimes see some of the ladies wearing could be up to $1,000. So I went in to because I live in an immigrant community. I live in MacArthur Park, and the demographics. I used to think it was greatly like Oaxacan from from Mexico, and then Guatemalan, but it's actually somebody told me a few years back. It's actually the other way around. It's greatly Guatemalan, and then there's also a population of of people from Oaxaca. Now, the two groups, what we see mostly are indigenous immigrants, and so it's not uncommon that you're walking down the street and that folks will be talking in their language, which is very cool, and they'll just switch uh, to Spanish, back and forth, just like we do, I think, with Spanish and English. But they'll swap when they don't want you to hear what they're saying. They'll swap. They'll switch to their language, just like we do. So this was um, a table napkin out of fabric, and I there's a picture of it. If you watch the video of that's the process of it's titled the Mayan warrior process, and so it was this napkin, and then I cut it on the bias, and so that helps it to be flexible, and then I sewed those strips of bias together so that I could go around, so that I could line the hat with that strip of fabric, as well as what we have here, the belt and loincloth. How that was important because just the whole concept, the whole thing. I wanted people that are Guatemalan and Central American to be represented, and in this case, because our model is of Guatemalan descent, I wanted them to be able to look at the textiles, the iconography, and say, he's one of us and we are one of him. And just to feel that, hopefully that it would give them a bit of joy to be represented, because I don't know if a lot of people know that Central Americans, we also celebrate the Day of the Dead. In fact, it's celebrated all throughout Latin America, but countries will celebrate it differently, and so that's the case, I think, in El Salvador and Guatemala. It may not be as I think as joyous and as vibrant as our Mexican brethren, but we do celebrate, we do share some commonalities. We go to the cemetery, we clean the grave, we decorate the grave. Sometimes we'll have altars as well. And so I don't know if a lot of people necessarily know that here, because, again, well, our Mexican brethren are the first largest Latino group here in Southern Cal and Los Angeles. And then we come next. I believe it's Salvadorans, but I'm going to go ahead and throw in all Central Americans in there. So that was, for me, I wasn't going for an authentic Mayan costume. That's why we're calling him modern Mayan warrior, because for one, like I mentioned, to do an authentic costume where you're trying to replicate something verbatim, which I would love to do one day, but for this, the time and the funds weren't there. But also for myself, I felt like that's kind of already that's been done, and it was done very well by Ms. Someone I like, Ms. Maya Rubeo, in Apocalypto. That, like, it's amazing. So here, the challenge was, okay, let's do. I want to do something that I can fit within the next few days, with iconography that that Guatemalans, aka Chapines, can recognize and say, ha, that's ours, like that's us. And so, that's where we had to get creative and grab some of our brethren over there, the apocalyptic Aztec warrior, and borrow some items. But at the same time implement the newer things that would represent Mayan culture, specifically Guatemalan. So, wow, I don't think I ever finished the headdress, telling you about that headdress. So again, this is faux leather, and then on the sides I put some of the orange textile that you also find in the belt. And this is authentic Guatemalan textile that's I've been hauling around with me for a long time. I think it may have belonged to my mother, and I don't know if it was a gift, but I've had it for years and years, and it was a table runner. It also has a quetzal, which I'll get into later. And I felt like this runner has been wanting to be something else in its lifetime. So I thought, you know what? This is the time. It's finally your time. You get to shine. And so we put it in, I put it here on the sides. It's the beetle on the sides of the headdress. And what was really cool, which we were not expecting, is the day of the shoot. In the sun, these colors warmed up, and it was wow. It was like a beautiful surprise. We totally didn't see it coming, and I hope that was helpful to the photographers, because we certainly enjoyed just seeing that. Like, okay, so I try to be very thoughtful, in my process. Like, I don't like to leave things to chance, and by that I mean that everything, it's everything has a symbol or a meaning. If not for me, then inspired by the person who's wearing it. And just also trying to use the things they teach you in school, and just what you've learned throughout the years. But I started out in fine art. I thought I was going to be an artist, like painting and drawing, and either a painter or a teacher. And but God had other plans. So I bring that because the colors are complementary, the blue and the orange, and I think that's why they make each other. That's why you see that the costume pops. And so I've been seeing a lot of my friends with their little color wheels, and I'm so proud of them, in their workspaces and so forth. And I think, yeah, that's so cool. So eventually those things start kind of coming to you, I believe innately, and then you realize, oh, like, how did, it's like instinct, like, how did I remember that, or how did I do that, blah, 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 but your brain's like, I think, on autopilot. Okay, so I use the black from the previous headdress, as well as those long feathers. I think these are rooster feathers, the black ones. I don't know what the long ones are called, but maybe someone can educate us. And so the only strip I did have to buy is this right here, which was, the gentleman actually agreed to sell me half a yard. I don't think he really wanted to, but he agreed, because so this little strip here was almost $20 just for like half a yard of feathers. But I'm so glad I got it, because it kind of ties in with the blue in his capelet, and it pops with the orange here, in the headband, and some of the other colors here. Like, this also has some blue as well. His huaraches have blue. More on that, on why they're huaraches and not something else. So, and if you see the pictures, there's like a couple of, they look like little beads. These are from Sip Up, as well as the headpiece in the front. So shout out to Sip Up there. I believe it's on Wall Street. If you've entered the place with the gentleman that has the voice of a DJ, then you're in the right place. That's the owner. And I've asked him about that, but he says I make more money as a store owner than a DJ. So, I put these at an angle. I got them because they looked a little bit like beads, like some kind of seeds or beads. I actually just used a little bit. I bought a bunch, but then when I was putting them throughout the belt and loincloth, it started looking a little bit Disney tribal. In fact, that was my big uh, fear and insecurity with the whole costume that you know I hadn't planned for just how bright the Guatemalan textiles translate. And so I just think of something that Ruth Carter said, where she said, she's talking about Black Panther, and she's telling her team, we're not gonna do Disney tribal, and then it's no offense to Disney, but I think at least what I understood what she was trying to say is that they were trying to go for something that looked real, raw, authentic, or that could have, that was made by the people um, versus just kind of using trinkets and slapping them on there. And so I thought, well, I think I could just get away with a couple of these here, but any more than that, and because they're actually buttons, but it was a way to kind of again, due to either limited time or resources, it was a way to kind of how would I put it? Implement those, and kind of give you, sell the whole look, given the limitations, This is another trim too from Sip Up, and it's metal on the outside, and it has like a precious stone that's mixed with like cream and orange in the middle. And in the actual pictures there, it has little graphics. I use that because the inspo picture I had sent Juan for the runner, the gentleman wearing the, I'll see if I could put that up so you guys can see it too at some point. He had a piece on his forehead, on his headdress. No feather. His has no feathers, and it also had something on his belt. In fact, he had something like this on his belt, where it was like an artifact, Mayan artifact, like a face. In this case, I flipped it because this is pretty heavy, and I thought that's gonna be tugging at on Juan when he's trying to wear it and maybe fall, or try to make the whole thing collapse. So I use this, which is lighter, and just to again kind of translate that illusion. It felt to me powerful and authoritative, and so I decided to use it, and I believe it works well. But you guys can tell me what you think too. Maybe you didn't like it. So and as you know, the beautiful makeup, of which I didn't do justice here because I couldn't do all the little beautiful things that Miss Jeanette does. But as you know, the makeup that day was slayed by my comadre Jeanette. She did 3 people, by the way, including herself, which is not easy to also throw yourself in there and model. So kudos to her. But so moving down. Oh, I want to also relay. So I was freaking out because I thought, how am I gonna? Normally, those headpieces that you see, like in Tulum or other places where they recreate like Mayan atuendos, again, lots of feathers. That's lots of money. And then for myself, I was thinking, oof, I'm gonna need foam to do foam construction. I'm gonna need certain adhesives, so the list, the you just keep getting more expensive. I'm gonna need like tons and tons and tons more feathers. How am I gonna do this? So that, when I contemplated the idea of maybe, going out loud and going out to spend all this possibly, I thought, wow, that's gonna be a lot of time and a lot of money. So I had to kind of bypass and forego that, and like basically, like Bon Jovi says, living on a prayer here, and figure something else out. And I was like, oh, I hope these are able to stand up just on the headband alone. I was like, please. And thankfully they were. I sewed, let's see, I would have sewn the blue piece first, then the black. And the only thing I glued was the longer feathers, because those were becoming a real pain to sew. It was taking too long and I was down to the wire. So those were the only things that I hot glued. We really try not to hot glue around here if you don't have to. Hopefully, because as my friend Di says, Di Lee, he's like, you don't want to be a hot glue designer. So it's almost sacrilegious unless you really, you have to, and there's no way the two materials you're trying to bring together can be sewn together. Let's say plastic on plastic or something like that, and you're like, then you got to bring out the glue gun. But you learn in school, you try to avoid it. But I know now, like a lot of cosplayers and people, sometimes you still use it. You still, do it. Like for some of the horror replica dolls, we do have to use hot glue because we're having to attach things onto plastic and metal and etc. But if you can avoid it, I think there's a real beautiful integrity in just trying to sew it. Obviously, like as we just learned, like superhero costumes, you have to have adhesive to create some of those creates some of those features and designs and effects. And so no beef, you know what I mean, like those are they're in a whole line of their own. They're amazing specialty costume fabricators. So in that respect, like obviously you have to use adhesives, but it's not hot glue. They use like other kinds of adhesives and everywhere. But no beef. Like if I'm not trying to be judgmental, but if you can avoid it, we try to avoid it around here. Okay, so the cape lid, as I mentioned, is borrowed from it's borrowed from the apocalyptic Aztec warrior. And the inspiration for that warrior was obviously apocalyptic times, but the movie, The Book of Eli, which I love, where he's a blind warrior. And at that time I was thinking, oh, of just the post-apocalyptic time being a time when people maybe went back to their roots, their instincts, and that would be culturally as well, and that these groups would, since maybe everything is gone or annihilated, you're going back to what you've been taught, whether it's in your cultural group or race or ethnic group, and you're kind of going back instinctually to what you know. And so I pictured somebody creating a warrior, kind of creating his wardrobe based on what was available. And so I guess I should go into not just the cape lid, but in that case, so these are also, it's a fake leather, but where you might see some of those things, maybe not these photos, but the previous photos, the back of these, I could show you right here. So It has top stitching. I had time in those days. That was crazy. It has top stitching all around, and it has little hand sewn holes. Little string. The string holes are like all hand sewn. Cause I'm thinking of the warrior. You know, he would have used what he has, right? And then this is actually like a telephone line cord. Because again, I'm like, okay, it's the apocalypse, and he's picking up what he can find. So he doesn't have actual string ties. He's gonna just use telephone wire. The inside of this, I was looking at this earlier. Let me see if I can. It was a little crazy. I guess I had. This is after I finished school. I had time. Okay, where's the? Okay. Oh, this is not showing up. Sorry. Hang on. But basically so you see this here, the feathers end here on the inside, and they end up. So up here they would have been flapping. So I hand sewed these guys right here, so that they're not detached and flapping. But also, feathers have this like point, at the where they're detached from the bird, they have a pointy thing, and I'm not able to. I'm sorry. I was hoping to be able to show it to you, but I'll probably make you dizzy here. But basically, I covered it with like an inch of leather, and fake leather, and it's hand stitched on one side, and on the other, towards the feathers, it would have been here. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong angle. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, you can kind of see it a little bit. Put it towards the light. Okay, so this covers the pointy feather part so that Juan or any other model doesn't get poked. And then it's stitched by machine down here. And then up here, let's see if I can zoom in. Down there, it's hand stitched. So I had time in those days. Wow, time and energy. So cherish your youth. Okay, so these guys, this fake leather did not survive the test of time as well, as well as the other ones. Sorry. So, but it is almost 10 years old. So, I mean, I was asking a lot for fake leather. But, it looks great as far as, if you want something to look distressed. But it kind of died on set or at the photo shoot, because when Juan had them on, I was like, what is that on the back of his leg? And it was this stuff that was peeling, unfortunately. But, okay, so I brought them home because I'm going to make some new ones for the comadre. But these are the calf covers. And again, because it was, inspired by apocalyptic times. These are bottle caps that I sprayed gold, and then I made little holes on the sides and used like invisible thread, and sewed them on. This could actually, use a little more. I've been thinking about it for a while. It could use what I call, and a lot of people call, texture, where you add another layer of things so that it looks a little more gritty. It looks a little more interesting, and I always feel like texture, it just adds a little bit more to the story, to the costume. It can make it more beautiful and interesting, versus something kind of flat, so yeah, I believe this one could use a little more texture, which I'll probably do. But I think it's, see, it's like falling apart. It's thus far, like in the pictures and stuff, it's worked, it's translated well. And again, this on the inside, let's see, well, let me show you. This too also has little stitch buttonholes, and then wire. And again, like I covered the needles of the feathers, and that, I think that was machine stitched. And over here, it's hard to tell now, but yeah, this was hand stitched over on this side. But what I do, I'm proud of myself, which that's very hard for me to say sometimes, but or I'm proud of my younger self who made this, because I just, the time, like I realized, wow, that took a lot of, there was a lot of hand sewing and thought that went into that. But I grew up on the what is the Mel Gibson, oh my gosh, the Mad Max movies. My parents liked Mad Max, and I grew up on those. So I think, I mean, I really enjoy those costumes because there's a lot of texture, a lot of story going on. But so that's a little bit about those guys. These were, previous pieces, and I showed you a little bit about just, how they were made. Those are real feathers. I got those, I believe, at the Feather Place. So shout out to Christina Brown from the Feather Place. And so yeah, they've held up. They've been with me for a while, and they were super nice over there. So all of these feathers actually are still from there, except for that little strip that I got in downtown LA. By the Fabric District. Okay, so one more thing I wanted to say is the capelet has, you're gonna see in the pictures, it has all these little studs, and the options I had at the time were studs that you could put on. They grip through the fabric, and then on the other side they have like these little, like, what are those called, these like little tentacles to grip the fabric. But you have this, like, you're gonna have this texture that's gonna possibly scrape your model, your actor, etc., right? So, and I don't know, I think they might have been pricey, I can't remember, but I something kept me from getting those kind of studs. So I got these other ones, and these are also like fake little studs, but they do the trick. But here's the catch. So they're kind of like these plastic little golden studs, but I had to hand sew those. So most of the ones you see on there are all hand sewed, piece by piece by piece by piece, and there's tons of them. And then I didn't picture it here because I forgot it, but there is another like layer of studs. Those are a little bit different. They're square, and those definitely are the kind that have the grips in the back. This on the outside has this trim that was like a very textured fake leather trim that I used to add again more texture. And the feathers, those are real feathers. What's cool is that it has these baby feathers that are like a lighter aquamarine blue, that kind of, they're little puffy and babyish. On the inside of that, again, I was younger, and youth is king. So on the inside of that, to cover, I did the same. I covered the feathers so that it wouldn't poke. I'm big on, like, I want my actor or my performer to be comfortable. And I know there's a lot of directors and people that don't care, but for me, I feel like that's important because, like, when they're on movie sets and so forth, they could be in something for 12 or more hours, or you're putting it back on and forth. But, while they're doing their thing, while they're acting, you don't want them to be thinking about, this thing is poking me, it's made a hole, I'm bleed. Like, those are not the kind of problems you want to have, well, at least myself. Or that they want to have while they're filming or trying to think about, doing their role. So, all right, anywho, so that's the the pointy parts of the feathers are covered on the inside with a lining that is a leopard print. And again, it's like an inch. It's nice. It's like this polyester rayon. I was like, oh, I was revisiting it the other day. But this is at the comadres. That's why I can't show it to you right now. I'm sorry. That same fabric there is on these strips of the staff. The staff does look kind of shamanic, which it wouldn't be uncommon sometimes that a shaman was also a warrior, but I put them on there because it adds texture. So it's like these little raw strips of like leather printish fabric, and they're not nicely finished, meaning like they I didn't fold them over and case them, nothing. They're just like they're framed, but that's to give it more texture. Unfortunately, that also means that sometimes they tangle. But that's to, again, like I'm big on like texture and things kind of feeling a little bit gritty and natural. And I know that this whole thing could be a lot grittier and more natural, but we were going here for iconography and representation within that time. And it happens that now the textiles of the Guatemalan culture, the Mayan culture, are very bright textiles that perhaps thousands of years ago they wouldn't have been as bright. But I did find out that they were already weaving by the time the colonizers came. So that was very fascinating and exciting to learn. Also very emotional, because when you think of how, unfortunately, the colonists, whether it was North, Central, or South, they refer to the indigenous peoples as savages. So it's sad to learn they were so sophisticated, but how wrongly judged they were. Okay, but we'll get into that on another a more political talk. So I don't get me started on that. So we've covered the headdress, the part which is part of the headband. I've given you info on the capelet, the arm pieces. Juan, like I said, because he's a runner, he's wearing. I asked him to wear his black biker shorts, which I noticed a lot of the danzantes, the dancers, Aztec dancers, and other, they'll wear something like this. I don't know if they're necessarily biker shorts, but I have noticed that they're like black, like these black fitted or spandex, depending on the dancer. But I thought, okay, this again, that's a we decided let's use what we have, and I knew that's something that he would have and he would be comfortable familiar wearing. And it also would help us because it would expose his muscles. um, because I'm gonna put that on the comadre, because I originally was gonna dress Juan in a biker shirt and so forth, but she said, hey, do you know somebody who's cut, or like fit, and like we could put him in the warrior costume, blah blah blah. And I was like, I know a guy. And so, she's like, all right, then we're just going to have him, with his muscles and headdress. But because the other outfit the Aztec warrior has an actual top. And so we're like, okay, we're going to forego that, and to have it look a little bit different. And also so that our current warrior uh, could show off his warrior physique. So anyway, I'm sorry. That's a little embarrassing. But okay, so moving on. Belt. So I use this in, again, I'm gonna try to post that inspo picture. I use this picture that I saw. It's the one that I sent to Juan, which I originally was gonna use that as my inspo picture for for the runner look. But I looked at that idea for he has like a belt loincloth that I liked. That he's wearing the original model, and so I thought, okay, you know what, that's something I think that can work for us. That can be made, within these next couple of days. So I spent 2 days shopping for the Guatemalan textile, the feathers, looking for some of the trims that I used, and then the next couple of days just trying to bring it all together, and so forth. I used to be able to stay up at night. Now, for health reasons, I try not to. So even though I feel like I work best at night, so I miss that. So that's one of the things that's changed for me. And I feel like I don't work as much or get as much done in the daytime unless it's an actual day job. So that's been a little tough trying to just refigure that out. But this could take a lot less time. But I think I was just scaring myself, getting in my head about the colors and design, and whether I was going to be able to do something decent for the headdress. But I have the belt here. Well, let me backtrack a little bit. Sorry, I'm going to backtrack just a second before I close this book. My friend Juan's a fellow Mayans watcher. So I found this within my community. I went shopping within my community of MacArthur Park as well. Let me see if I could put it somewhere where you can kind of. Okay, sorry. There's a Peruvian gentleman, and he has umbrellas that he's covered in velvet, and on the umbrellas he's put jewelry. It's very creative. It's very like it's very clever. And so I went out into the community because I wanted to get things from there, like to put it in, incorporate into the costume, and so I could feel like I'm kind of really bringing them into it with me. And my community always inspires me, and I wanted to get some things from there, like so that they're a part of it as well in some way, or I'm bringing, because they're the real, modern day Mayans, and so fellow Mayans, and so yeah, I found this gentleman. Well, in his case, he's Peruvian, so he would be something else. He would be, possibly Incan or something else. But I didn't know that at the time, and he had this cool jewelry. But either way, I wasn't gonna exclude him because he's here with us. So I was like, hey, we're all in this. So yeah, Juan's a fellow Mayan watcher. I love the show Mayans. My favorite guy there is Coco. And so I got this because it does give me the biker vibes, but also because it's Dia de los Muertos. So, we've got the skull for the Katrina, and then this particular one is wearing a feathered headdress. So I thought, oh yeah, this is something I would like our warrior to have. So I brought it in for Juan to wear. We originally had it on his left hand, and then what's funny is that the photographers started asking him to model, but they were having him use his right hand. So Juan and I are like, we need to switch this up to your to your right hand so that it can come out in the pictures. Because I felt like it added another layer too of just of for me power, like and authority. So yeah, that's how this little guy got in there. And but I'm proud that it's from somebody from our community, and also the Guatemalan textile I mentioned that I used to outline the belt as well as the headband. This is also a lady from our community who has a store. There's several stores here in MacArthur Park that sell Guatemalan textiles. And so her store is named Punto Chapin, and they have a page on Facebook if you want to check them out. I'm gonna move the I went on about the ring because I kind of also needed to move it out of the way from the book because I'm gonna bring this over here. And so, okay, so the belt slash loincloth, like I mentioned, and I apologize for my busted nails. I busted them in the process of making this, but that's a good cause. Okay, I mentioned faux leather from a previous old project that I will not mention, but it's a fake brown leather, and outlined by Guatemalan textile. Here that was cut on bias strip. I did a zigzag. I did a zigzag because I felt it's gonna add more texture, and it's able to catch my other side as well. But I'm gonna say yes on text, yeah, like on another layer of texture. And this is something I've had for some time. That's been also traveling with me, or rather, I should say, moving with me. There was a while there where I was a bit of a gypsy, not really by choice, but so it's been with me for some time. And again, I saw that picture and I thought, oh yeah, that's I have something. I think I have something, and it's kind of like the orange textile that was a runner. It's been with me for a while. It was a wall decor. I've used it at some point as wall decor, and I think it's been wanting to be something, and it's been wanting to be something else. And so it was like, oh, here's your chance, So now it has a second life, and I hope it likes its second life. Okay, so these are trims that I got at Sip Up, the same place where I told you that I got some of the pieces that go on the headband, the little couple buttons, and also that circular metal piece that you see in the middle. Like I believe he's on Wall Street. So I saw these as I was going out, as I was leaving, and so these are real abalone shells here. And then these are little wooden beads. Obviously, the rhinestones, those se colaron ahí, they like jumped in there. But they that obviously those are not gonna read as authentic. But they, in the sun, I must say they read nicely. But I got these. I thinking of the Mayans in the Yucatan Peninsula, which a lot of my DNA is greatly from. I learned it's greatly from that area, which is obviously very much surrounded by water, and I didn't know when I was going on my senior trip, at the time, that it's like, oh, that you're visiting the land of your ancestors. I was just like a teenager, going on a senior trip to Cancun, but now I'm very grateful. So and also last year Juan was in Tulum, and he sent me when I asked for inspo pictures, he sent me a picture from there. So this is a nod to that area, the Mayans from Yucatan. Obviously, it's not necessarily, how would I say, here we're kind of taking creative license, right? Because it has some things that they would have possibly have used, like the shells and also the wood beading. So I wanted to. It would take hours to do on a belt. So I had to kind of think quick and use something that was a nod and symbolic in iconography, but at the same time, again, like thinking time, you know. Okay, the beads, these are little shells that I got from those little shell bracelets. I got them at St. Vincent's for like $1. And you know how I was telling you that I was freaking out about, oh, is this gonna read like Disney? And when you turn them over, it kind of just does, like it just reads kind of like it could be like a generic tribal or something, you know. So I turned it over and I noticed it gives, there's more texture on the back. It's like skeletal. So I thought, yeah, I like that, you know. And instead of using 3 because it was starting to look a little too, I don't know, again, I'm going to say Disney, sorry. I thought I'm going to just use a couple, like less, and then instead just add some stitches like aqua color that will tie in with some of the colors in the belt and in the feathers. On the part like towards the back, again I used that orange textile to tie it into the headband, and it has the image of, I believe these are beetles. I want to say they're beetles. And for this, because of the time constriction, I had a couple of days. I didn't do the holes for the like what you would normally do, like for the tie strings, to for it to be tied. I decided I'm gonna go with we're gonna do Velcro. And let me see, for this I believe I did zigzag to put this on there. And this has a couple of pieces so that in case later on we get someone that's a little bit bigger than Juan or so forth, then you can, you know, bring it down a bit to adjust it to that person. This is, you know, how would I explain it? Maybe I'll skip that part. We'll just, but what I was gonna say, I'll think of it. I'll think of a way to say it differently. Okay, later. This is raw edged. I didn't do a finish edged. Just because again, like if it could have a little bit of texture and not look so neatly done, almost to think, okay, the warrior, you know, put it together himself, etc., or somebody did it for him. I did do a zigzag to try to catch some of that fraying. On this part it doesn't fray as bad. In some other parts I couldn't find my fray check, but I'm probably gonna be going over it with fray check. Okay, let me flip this forward. Sorry, that's residue from that other piece that I mentioned. Okay, these are some of the layers that we start seeing in the loincloth. And I did use, remember how I said I was gonna use like some trims and buttons, but then it started looking a little hokey. So I did, they're beautiful trims, but I decided to bypass and forego because I kept hearing Ruth Carter's voice in my head about Disney. Okay, so I just left one, and then when I look at it, well, if you try to go online and buy Mayan stuff, the authentic, the pocket is not there for it right now, but maybe one day. So, but some of the features that they have in their art that are sometimes a bit rounded, I use this because I felt like it, you know, it reads a little bit like that. And I just, so since I omitted the other trims, the other kind of buttons that I was gonna kind of use as features, um, I, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go with some stitches instead again, so it could give it a little bit of a more of a gritty, natural feel. Even though again we're using bright because their textiles are bright, and this is a more of a modern take on this. Okay, here, this I like to use sometimes unconventional stuff or throw in like a couple of unconventional things. This is rope from the dollar store. And it's like a plastic, probably like a plastic thread fiber or whatever. But I like the colors, and I felt like they could bring out some of the other colors that we have on here, like that we have on this textile and on this one. The only problem is, so as far as burning the edges, this is not all one material. There's like a black other rope underneath, then it's covered by the blue. So when I try to burn it, it burns the two, and then the blue starts kind of coming undone. So what I try to do is go over again later with thread, but I did want to put that in there. Later on, I had thought of maybe covering it with other trim as well, but I might just come in with the thread instead. Okay, this one is very important because this is the quetzal. This is an image of the quetzal bird, which is the national bird of Guatemala. So let me see, this is about, I want to say 2 inches big, but I definitely wanted to incorporate this in there so that the Japanese can see that and say, hey, that's ours, you know. So yeah, that's why that I had to have that in there, because it was it was going to be part of the iconography to read like, okay, this person is Guatemalan, this is, you know, Mayan, etc. Over here I put, you know, some more of that rope. This is zigzagged, this is hand stitched. I'm thinking of coming in later with a little bit of feathers. Ooh, I don't know if I could. Okay. I can't find them right now, but it's just like this very small, these short feathers that are kind of yellow. And again, I think it would add more texture. And let's see, the bottom is another strip of quetzal textile, and I think I did mention that this is indeed Guatemalan. And when I went into the shop, she had this kind of thicker. This one was this type of textile cost more, so I thought, oh, okay, the one I have at home is good, okay, good quality then, and I can, you know, I already have it. I don't have to get something else. I'm gonna give it a new life, and I can use the, you know, the bird to represent, you know. Okay. The next little segment, again, some more blue, hand stitching, and then this is I mentioned this trim is a button. So yeah, that's in essence. Let me give you a look. This is a hand sewing going on inside, and I'm gonna go back to that piece in the. Remember, I was talking about glue. This could have been glued. I didn't. The problem sometimes is that the glue will, when something heavy like this, it might overspill. You might have gook. It'll show, so it gets gunky and yucky. I mean, it's totally doable, but I didn't want it to be glued. I guess I wasn't feeling the glue. But it totally it was doable. So what I did is I just sewed it in the little holes that it has through the fabric, and I knew, you know, I did wanted to sew it as much as possible wherever I could, because I knew that this thing was gonna try to fall on while Juan was wearing it. So I did one across here, and there's like there's 4 threads, I think, from side to side, and I doubled it some more over here to, you know, keep it in place. So far it's holding up, so yay on that. And I'm gonna go back here and break down a little bit on the shoes, but that's in essence the belt. And I'm just, for myself, I'm really glad we were able to get in some Guatemalan textiles, like here, like the iconography, the bird, el quetzal, um, and some other, small nods to like Yucatan and so forth. Let me move back here because I'm gonna talk a little bit about. Okay, so we've covered most of the costume. What I wanted to say, because it's very easy to look at something and say, hey, that's not, that's not Guatemalan. And it's true, the shoes were loaned to us, and thank you very much to our friend who loaned them. And so son huaraches mexicanos, they're Mexican huaraches. And the reason I didn't cover them is because Juan had, he grew up in a Mexican and Guatemalan home. So he has one parent is Mexican. So he's I would say kind of tricultural because he's a Mexican, Guatemalan, American, right? So I decided, all right, we're gonna keep those as is. Also, the real huaraches have blue and white, which I'd never seen before, and blue and white are part of the Guatemalan flag, and also part of the flag in El Salvador and a lot of Central American flags. So I was like, oh wow, that's sweet. We're gonna keep that as a nod to his pops, and also what other, there's something, one of these pieces here may also read as, Mexican or Guatemalan, and I let it go, although I can get get a little picky about it. I let it go because of that reason, because um, Juan also has again, like I said, some Mexican upbringing. So those are nods. We kept those as is because they're nods to that part of his story. So oh my gosh, that was a whole it's past an hour. It's a whole mouthful. I don't know if IG's gonna let me post something this long. Probably not. Oh, bummer. I may have to break it up. But thank you so much if you stayed on this this far and this long. Thank you so much to like our hosts, Gus and Jean. Thank you so much to my dear friend Juan, who's been an inspiration, and he was such a trooper that day to, come help us out. And thank you to the photographers, to other models, Marilyn, Jeanette, and just everybody we met there who was very kind and gave us this opportunity to represent the Guatemalan and Salvadoran and Central American community, while also embracing our the influence that the Mexican culture community has had on us as well. Because before borders and frontiers and so forth, we were all connected, and all the indigenous tribes come from, one and the other, the one before them, and until we all, everyone was breaking off and migrating south. But thank you for those who have shown, support, and who like this, and thank you for your love. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we've had a bit of a response, and there's someone we may be collaborating with in the future. I do have this person may want to do, it sounds like they want to do another warrior, so there is one I'm contemplating that I think you guys would really like. So we shall see, and let's see if I can post this thing up there. But thank you so much for everything, and I don't know if you guys like these. Well, I'll try to do some other ones, or if they're, I hope this helps somebody, but this is part of kind of the creative process. And somebody asked me on the shoot, like, well, what do I do to get inspired? And so I love to go to exhibits, you know, all kinds of how would I put it? Fashion, art, costumes, traditional clothing, native clothing, like any of those kind of exhibits I love to go to. So as well as books. I like to look up things on well, since I was young, Native American culture and their clothing. I live in an immigrant community with indigenous people, so I like to go to the shops and research. But usually, customers will do tons and tons and tons of research, and it's like always an ongoing, but depending on what that customer likes. And for myself, I really like tribal clothing, or that's what I hope to specialize in. But that's one of my passions, and not just for like indigenous here of the Americas, but I like tribal clothing of internationally, like all over the world. I'm fascinated by indigenous cultures, period. So what else? I watch YouTube videos, whatever I can get my hands on, movies, just yeah, then there's the internet, etc. But just research, and always trying to kind of learn and see how this things were made, so that when it's time to make something, I mean, your brain is the best computer out there yet, so if you've fed it all this information and imagery, it's there. And I think later things just start coming a little more naturally to you, or I prefer to say instinctually, and you get a feel like, oh, this looks right, this doesn't look right, this feels right, this doesn't feel right, da 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 da. So, okay. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who helped to make this warrior possible, that we didn't, imagine that was kind of cooking up there on the horizon. So, thank you. All right. Have a good night. Bye bye.